Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber with Everyone Loves Guitar, and I have just a monster player, super cool guy, and a guy with a incredible work ethic. We're with Bob Lanzetti from Snarky Puppy and a bunch of other bands that we'll talk about. He's based out of Brooklyn. He's a incredible guitarist, composer, producer, and an educator. He's performed and recorded with many artists throughout the New York City area, as well as played in over 40 countries with the 3-time Grammy Award-winning jazz funk collective Snarky Puppy. And if you guys have not listened to Snarky Puppy, I really encourage you to check them out. We had Mark Lettieri on the show, and we have Chris McQueen coming in soon. There's 3 guitar players. This is an awesome, really interesting, incredibly creative, and incredibly talented group of musicians. Growing up in the Jersey Shore, Bob had the fortune of studying music with New York City area-based guitar greats like Chris Bono, David Fuszynski, and Vic Juris, who I actually spoke with, Vic Juris. In 2000, Bob moved to Denton, Texas to further his education at the University of North Texas. He got a bachelor's degree in jazz studies, and in addition to his studies, he was fortunate enough to get involved in the thriving R&B and gospel music scene in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and that's where he met all the musicians who'd go on to form the core of Snarky Puppy. As a member of Snarky Puppy, Bob's had the opportunity to contribute as a writer, arranger, and guitarist. He's played on every recorded release and performed all over the world. As I said, Snarky Puppy's earned 3 Grammy Awards to date. In 2014, they got the Best R&B Performance on Something featuring Layla Hathaway, Best Contemporary Instrumental Album in 2016 and 2017. Those records were Silva, Sylva, and one of the coolest titled albums, Culcha Vulcha, Culcha Vulcha. Since 2006, Bob's been living in Brooklyn. He's become an in-demand session guitarist, performing and recording with many artists, including Tommy Sims, Bokanté, Michelle Willis, Cory Henry, Ghost Note, which is Robert Sput, Searight, and Nate Werth's band. And Sput plays with Snarky once in a while, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he used to play with us all the time.
Okay. Also, he's played with Lucy Woodward, Musiq Soulchild, Bilal, Banda Magda, Underground System, Jerry Granelli, Robben Ford, and many others. I am so happy I didn't butcher any of those names. It is a small miracle. In addition to sideman work, Bob writes, records, produces, and performs his own original compositions with his quintet. His debut record, another great album title, we'll talk about it, Whose Feet Are These That Are Walking? I want to say that again, because think about it for a minute. Whose Feet Are These That Are Walking? That is very cool. Was released to positive reviews in September 2017. Bob's also composed and recorded the score for 2 dance films for Allen Dance Company, as well as perform improvised solo guitar music for yoga and dance classes. As an educator, Bob teaches music and guitar out of his Brooklyn studio. He's given clinics all over the world. He's also worked, and this is cool, in outreach programs through Carnegie Hall for underprivileged teens to learn to write, record, and perform their own original music. Bob uses Supro amps, D'Addario strings and accessories, Fodera guitars, Pigtronics and MXR effects, and Fralin Blues special pickups. Man, you are a good endorsee. That's good, man. Pimping out your guys.
Trying to give it back a little bit.
Absolutely, man. I totally down on that. Again, I've also interviewed a couple of other members of Snarky Puppy. If you want, go to everyonelovesguitar.com or to iTunes. You could check out episode 219 with Mark Lettieri and episode 232 with JT Thomas. Bob, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Dude, you studied with some pretty serious teachers as a kid. And so I would imagine that means you knew you wanted to play guitar at a pretty high level from a young age. And I was curious, what was the story behind this as far as what prompted you to start playing in the first place, and how did you know with such certainty that's what you wanted to do?
Mm-hmm. Well, my dad plays guitar too, so that was definitely what initially got me into it. I think I started when I was about 12, and after a couple of years, I started playing with his band.
Wow.
So, I was like super into it. And I actually at a certain point, it was kind of funny because at a certain point, I started to like not be as into it anymore when I was probably after a few months of starting. And my dad had asked me if I was playing still, and I kind of said yeah because I felt like I would let him down or something, which wouldn't have been the case, but I just felt I was
of course, feeling like normal,
So, and then he asked me again, and I said yeah again, and then he said, well, let me teach you the song, and then you can play it with my band if you want. And then I was like, oh shit, really? I could play with like a band? And then from that point, I never looked back. He taught me this. It was a song by Eddie Money called Shakin'.
From New Jersey, right?
Is he from New Jersey?
No, he's from Queens. Eddie Money's from Queens. He was a cop in Queens, believe it or not.
That's right. I knew he was a cop.
He's a cop in Queens. Yeah, Shakin'. That was a great song, man.
It was a good song, yes. But I practiced it for like 6 hours because I was like, first, the thought of playing with a band never even occurred to me. I didn't even think that was possible. So I kind of never looked back after that. And then I played with him, and then after, by the time I was like 16, I was like, I definitely want to do this for a living,
Now, was your dad playing professionally full time, or was like a weekend guy, or?
No, it was kind of a weekend guy. It was like semi-pro, I guess, when I was even younger, when I was like, in grade school. But by the time I was like playing with him, it was kind of just more like a hobby. And, they would play gigs once in a while, but.
And Jersey's a great place because there was, back in then anyway, tons of clubs to play in.
Yeah.
The whole tri-state area. Yeah. That's really cool, man. I would imagine that's a pretty special thing to do and play with your dad even.
Yeah, it was great. And I learned so much. I mean, I was playing with guys, in their 30s, and I was like 13, so.
That's awesome, man.
It was really great educational experience.
You grew up on the Jersey Shore, and then you went to school in North Texas. That is not like the typical place to go from a young kid growing up in the tri-state area. I was curious what was behind that. Most people would go to Berkeley or NYU, or just like Montclair State, something like that, or some 4-year school or 2-year school with a music that's local. What prompted you to go to North Texas?
Basically, because I got in was basically the only reason. So when I graduated high school, I auditioned for William Patterson and Rutgers because they both had great music programs. And Vic Juris was teaching at, I think maybe both of them at the time. And I was already studying with him, and he was fantastic. So I kind of wanted to go to one of those schools and just continue studying with him, basically. But I didn't get into either one. I think William Patterson accepted one guitar student.
Oh, wow.
And I think Rutgers maybe literally accepted 0 that year.
The program it wasn't a big program, or?
They're a really small program, and they will only take whoever they need. And then if they don't really need anybody, they just have auditions anyway without telling you. At least this is the way it was at that time.
That's weird. You got a guy like Vic Juris teaching. That guy's a magnet. You'd think you take a ton of people. That makes no sense.
So, they're just small programs, I guess. So they probably only had like a few guitar students every year or something. So then I was like, oh shit. Well, so then I went to a community college. I went to Ocean County College for like, was it a semester? No, it was a full year. I went there for a full year. So then the following year, I was looking into other schools, and I heard so many great things about North Texas. So I applied for that, as well as William Patterson and Rutgers again. Didn't get into William Patterson and Rutgers again, but now I wanted to have something else to fall back on. So yeah, I applied to North Texas really just because I figured I would do one out of state that had a good reputation.
Sure. It
was really just like a shot in the dark. So I got in there, so I just went. And in hindsight, I'm so glad I did because...
Oh, God. It changed your life, man.
Yeah, it was like a great experience. I met great people. But beyond that, also, it was just like I would have grown up on the Jersey Shore, went to school in North Jersey, and then moved to New York. So
Which is not bad, but you got an opportunity to serendipity sort of intersected.
Worked out much better than I would have ever expected. At the time, I was like so bummed, but I'm so glad it went that way, because it was great to get a totally different perspective on music. People are such different players there, and the school was great. And obviously I met all the people that formed Snarky Puppy, which was, that alone made it worth it. So yeah, it worked out for the best, I think.
Oh yeah. I have this expression, like, you can't connect the dots moving forward. You never know. And it's so weird sometimes when you look back and you say, I cannot, the likelihood of you having made that decision, or the cards stacking up, you're a local guy, you don't get into local schools, you're a great player. It's just, you got to figure, at the time, you might seem like frustrated, but there was like a greater purpose for all that stuff that none of us ever know about, that when it's going on, we're up on our own head. Like, why?
Yeah, for sure.
And then the Dallas Fort Worth gospel scene is like, I've talked to tons of people. That's the breeding ground for just loads of musicians. What do you think that is?
I don't really know. I mean, and there's a lot of musicians there, and I'm not sure exactly why. There's a lot of musicians in Texas in general, and all kinds of stuff too. Like Ornette Coleman is from there. John Lee Hooker is from there. Obviously, Steve Ray Vaughan. So all different kinds of music. And there's a big scene for gospel music.
Yeah.
And it's not the only place. I mean, there's Houston, there's Atlanta, there's a few cities, especially in the South, that have great scenes for that. So yeah, but I think also maybe part of what makes that unique is that you have a lot of mixture between the school, jazz school, and then all the, and then the culture in Dallas, Fort Worth area, from people who just grew up there. And it's a great combination of jazz and gospel and funk and hip hop. And so, it's a great way to learn and get into different kinds of music, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, so many people specifically mention that gospel scene as, and it's interesting also how many musicians I've interviewed in general who got their start playing in church bands, and how they had the talent there. It's a pretty good talent in most of these bands. And some of these guys, like, I can think of a few guys off the top of my head I interviewed, they, as a professional, spend a lot of time, like out in California, you have gigantic, massive churches, and you make a good living playing with these church bands.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. So I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say?
Well, I was just asking about I'm a New York City guy, so this is like, it's probably not a revelation to anybody who grew up west of the Mississippi or south of Maryland, but to a guy growing up in the city to see the magnitude of all these churches cranking out such good musicians, it was always boggled my mind. It's nothing.
Yeah, it's a huge community, and just like there's so much personality in that music too.
Yeah. Oh, tons.
It's kind of like jazz in that way that there's a very specific vocabulary. And it's harmonically very interesting, and people really have to have great ears to play it and hear it. It's not really too much of a written music. It's more of like an oral music, like jazz. So, I think I always think of them as kind of comparable, but they're on different sides of the spectrum in a way.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I really didn't actually play much gospel. I played with a lot of gospel musicians, but doing other kinds of stuff. I never had like a steady. I played I subbed in a couple gospel churches when I was down there, but really only like 2 or 3 times. So
to me, gospel, if you take gospel and you add sex, you got funk. It's just like that the soulful vibe of gospel plus the the power of sexual chemistry, or
yeah,
and you just got the funk. So it's great
it's a
music.
huge part of American music, for sure. I think so many things can be related back to that. It's kind of like blues and jazz and gospel probably inform so much American music.
I think we're onto a new book here, man, or a course, the triangle, whatever, the three pillars of music or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Hey, then you left and moved from Denton to Brooklyn. I know a lot of the Snarky guys live there. Is that did you collectively just decide, hey, let's move to Brooklyn, or did you move there and then other people, or like what made you move to Brooklyn?
Yeah, no, it was all kind of separate, all individual. I moved in like 2006. So Snarky Puppy had only been around for a couple of years. We had only made one record at the time. And I just had always wanted to move there.
To the city?
Yeah. So basically when the time came, I just left. The Snarky Puppy thing was like, in the beginning, I just kind of thought of it as, Mike League's making a record and getting his friends to play on it. That's cool. That's great. Never thought that it would be anything beyond that, really.
Never thought you'd win 3 Grammys.
Yeah, definitely not. So when I left, it was just kind of like, we recorded the record and we played a couple gigs, and then I moved and didn't really think anything about it. And then like shortly after that, maybe 2007 or something, he called me to make another record. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay, cool. So then we made another one. And then I think by that time it started feeling like this is like a real band.
Were you touring after the first record then? No, huh?
They did a little bit, but the budget was so low. They just took whoever was in Dallas basically. Right. Or Denton, in that area. So I didn't do the first maybe 1 or 2 tours. And then Chris was playing with the band a lot more then. But then he started getting busy with another band that he had started. And that's when I started touring with them a lot. Okay. When he started getting busy. So, yeah. So then, so I think I started touring with them a lot probably around 2008. Something like that. And then everybody kind of, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry.
Everybody kind of started slowly moving to New York after that. Like Maz actually moved, the trumpet player actually moved a little bit before me. And then I moved 6 months after him. And then it was just us two for a few years. And then slowly other members started moving kind of one by one.
It's kind of cool to move to a place though, where you have a little network there, that's always helpful, man.
Yeah. It was great.
What is living in the city been good? Are you happy with it?
Yeah, I love it. I've been there for like almost 12 years now. It'll be 12 years in January.
Best and worst parts about living in New York for you?
I mean, the best is definitely the amount of culture that's there, the amount of music that's there, art in general. Yeah. It's a very alive city. Like people go there because they want to do something, not to just sit around, so it's inspiring just being around that energy, I think, of creative.
Such a good end. I mean, like there's no other, you get out of LaGuardia, you just get a cab as soon as you cross the Queens, the bridge, and you're in the city. It's like, you just feel it, man. It's like nothing else in the world. It's just awesome. Yeah.
It's a great place to really start. It's a great place to really like start getting some experience and start learning. And, I wouldn't trade it for anything. The worst part about it is definitely just getting it from one place to another. It takes like all day just to get from point A to point B. Yeah. And it's expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive.
But it's worth it. But it's funny because I was just talking with a couple of friends in Nashville because me and my girlfriend are thinking about possibly moving.
That's a great, wonderful people. It's totally opposite. They're so warm and friendly there. You get down there, you're like, man, what's your deal? Like, what? Growing up in New York, you go there, you're like, what are you after? It's like a horrible need. It's a horrible. They're so not, but they're not. They're just very genuinely friendly people.
Right. Yeah, and there's so much great music in Nashville too. So, and I don't know, I'm getting a little bit older, and I'm starting to
I feel you.
feel like I could maybe leave New York soonish.
Yeah.
I've kind of been there for a while and did what I wanted to do for the most part there. So we're still up in the air about it, but it's an option.
Good, man. Yeah, it's a nice place to live. I was just reading an article yesterday. Someone said this, or this morning, or something online, some article about people don't realize normally a place that might take you 7 to 10 minutes, you have to plan for an hour in the city. Yeah. That's what people don't realize, how valuable the subways are, because that's like, if you want to get somewhere quick, you hop on a subway. You don't hop in an Uber,
Yeah. Yeah. If there was no subways, I don't know what they would do.
No,
traffic is already so bad.
Yeah.
It would be unbearable. It would be impossible.
Did you catch, are you familiar with the Village at all?
Yeah.
So I think you probably, when you were early there, caught maybe the last whiff of like Bleecker Street, sort of before it went totally like, upscale coffee shops and like $500 scarf stores. And
when I moved there, shortly after I moved there, a lot of places started closing. So it was kind of like, maybe everybody says this about New York, but I kind of feel like it was almost like the last great era.
I think I agree with that. It was real. And you're like, when I grew up, it was, there was a shop, man. This is not about me, but this is such a cool, there was a pizza store called Pizza Box. It was right on Bleecker Street, and it was the only place
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And you can go out back and sit out back, and they had like a little patio, and there was like actually trees there. Of course, you're sitting in between two buildings, but it was cool. There was trees, and it was it was totally chilled out. Yeah. And even my kids had gone there several times, but I had been going. I'm 54. I had been going there since I'm 13. And it was such a downer when we went back one year, and it was like just closed. It was like, wow. I think it had been there 40 years or something like that. It was, but that's the way it goes, man.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, when I was there, like Tonic was still there, which was they had like a lot of like, pretty avant-garde music and improvised music. It was a great spot. I think that was in maybe the Lower East Side.
That's on the East Village, I think, or the Lower East Side. Yeah.
Maybe East Village. Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. Knitting Factory was still in Manhattan at that time.
Oh, wow. Was
CBGB's was still there?
Yeah, I was going to say CB. Now it's like a John Varvatos clothing store. Oh,
yeah. I don't know.
That's depressing, man.
Yeah, the living room closed just a few years ago. Yeah, it was cool.
Bottom Line closed, I think.
What's that?
The Bottom Line is closed. That was a club downtown.
Yeah, that one's
Ritz
gone.
Was another club downtown. Some good bands there.
So many are gone now.
Yeah, man. Now we sound like a couple of old men. So how'd you get involved in scoring dance films? Because that seems really challenging. What's like the most, how'd you get involved in that? What are the most difficult things in doing that?
Well, I got involved in that because my sister is actually a modern dancer. So that was kind of my way in. And she danced for this company called Allen Dance Company. Just another girl who was a dancer, Laura Allen. Was, I guess kind of the head of it. So that's how I got it. So that was cool. But the experience was great. And I've always been like really into things like David Lynch. The filmmaker.
Like he does like very out there like stuff. Like
Twin Peaks. And, Mulholland Drive. So I was really inspired by, art outside of music, really, especially him. And then other music I really liked besides guitar music was a lot of 20th century classical music, like Ligeti and Stockhausen and, stuff like that. So that's kind of what I kind of, use that sort of as a base for what I did with the dance pieces, because the dance pieces were really pretty out stuff.
How do you score to that? I'm just like, that's really, it seems really tough.
It was tricky, but it was a lot of fun though, and it was a really interesting experience. And have you seen the dance film?
I have not.
It's on my website. It's only like 6 minutes long. The first one was really short.
I gotta check it out though.
And it was based on this book by this guy David Ohl called Motorman, which is probably the most bizarre book I've ever read in my whole entire life. And so I read the book maybe twice, and then I watched the film that they had made without any music to it, and then started kind of, making a rough draft of how I could tell a story that was related to the book, but also related to the dance moves that I was watching. And then, when I did it, me and this drummer who also is a producer and engineer in New York, Ross Peterson, we did it together, and basically just recorded like a ton of guitar tracks and some keys stuff, and just kind of built a lot of it in post-production after we tracked everything. So that was kind of, and I kind of had like a general story that I was trying to tell with it as well.
So when you're doing this, does like when you're scoring a movie and, it's a scary moment, or it's a dangerous moment or a happy moment, it's pretty apparent that's what the emotions involved, and then you write the music accordingly to match those emotions. But when the thing that I would think makes it difficult is, how do you in a dance, like, how do you know what emotion you're supposed to try to evoke at a certain point in time?
Well, I guess I would say it's kind of just like a feeling, I would say. It wasn't so much of like a intellectualized thing where I'm kind of like, okay, here's a happy moment, so I should make something happy. It was more of like a general sort of intuitive feel. Like, just I would watch it and then just see what sounds I heard.
Okay.
So it was more just like, I read the book a couple times. I watched the piece a couple times.
I give you credit, man. It's hard to read a wacky book more than once. You're a true.
I really liked it, actually.
Oh, you did?
It was super out.
Okay.
So I read the book a couple times, watched the film a couple times, and then I just kind of tried to not think about it at all and just see what I heard, hoping that in a way that the fact that I did that homework would influence it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you just said something that I think was the answer. You didn't overanalyze it. You went with your gut. You didn't intellectualize this. You just said, okay, how do I feel? And let me write accordingly. And that is, I'm trying to put together an article because I've interviewed so many people and I get asked all the time, what is the most common traits of successful, top players? And that is one of them. They don't overanalyze and they don't overthink things. Yeah. They just, they do what feels right.
Yeah. I think that's key. I think it's really important to spend a lot of time like practicing, or in a case like that, like, really sitting with the book and sitting with the film and trying to understand them on a deep level, and then forget about all of it, when it's time to actually create something.
And the other thing I think was smart is you went back and you had a frame of reference with Lynch, David Lynch. So you had, and a couple of other things that you mentioned. So you had some sort of like a, not a template, but you had something to fall back on as to, okay, here's a few different ways that seem, that I dig, and how do I take this and make it my stamp with this other thing?
Yeah.
So I think that was really smart.
Yeah, it was kind of, and I guess I kind of answered it a little more precisely just a minute ago, which was same thing with those influences. Like, I wasn't really thinking about those either, but those were all in my subconscious.
Yeah. Very cool, man. And so the movie is on your website, boblanzetti.com. Everybody check that out.
Yeah, it's under the videos. It's also on YouTube and everything.
Awesome. Are you working on anything now that you're particularly excited about?
Well, right now I'm pretty busy with Snarky Puppy and Bokanté, so I'm not really working on too much stuff outside of that. Snarky Puppy is about to record a record in just a few days.
Where are you recording that?
In El Paso and at Sonic Ranch.
Cool.
It's a great studio out there. And then Bokanté is going to Europe after that, and we're doing some touring in the States as well. Yeah, so then I'm doing a tour of my own stuff in November.
That's great, man.
Kind of mid-November in the Midwest.
So let me ask you this. You're like, you got your hands in a lot of things and you're, clearly pretty driven. Have you always been like that? And if so, like, because you really, you have a lot of things, irons in the fire, and you're a young guy, but look at all the stuff you've done already. It's a pretty big book. Where'd you get that drive from, and have you always had it?
I guess I've always had it to a certain extent. Like, I've always wanted to do well, like when I was in grade school and stuff, I've always had a pretty good work ethic, I think. The funny thing is, like, I think a lot of what has driven me, at least in certain things, was the sort of like fear of failing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not uncommon.
Which the last couple of years I've been trying to change my desire to work hard for love instead of fear.
Yeah, I understand.
So, so that's challenging, of course, but it's like I've gotten to a point where I'm just like, I want to like enjoy life too.
Yeah, man, I hear that. Yeah,
I want to do this stuff because I love it, not because I'm afraid of something.
Not because you're afraid of failing.
Kind of like yeah.
Totally get that, man.
Yeah, so that's kind of so that was kind of my driving force, at least to a certain extent. And I'm lately, like I said, I've been trying to like alter that a little bit.
Is that
I've always been like pretty driven for one reason or another.
The desire to move from like doing something to avoid failing to more of a positive, where does that come? Is that like just an age thing, like, or did something happen that said, oh, hey, I need to reassess? Or
it was sort of a few things that had happened over a number of years that kind of started making me try and think about things differently. First of all, I got tendonitis.
Wow.
When I was basically right after I graduated college. I got tendonitis, and I didn't play guitar for like 6 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And in hindsight, I probably was being overly cautious, but I was like so afraid that I would damage it permanently.
Yeah.
So I was very cautious of making sure that didn't happen. So I took a lot of time off. I tried acupuncture. I tried these stretches that I had found somewhere online, just random stuff. Nothing was really working. I finally heard about this thing called Hoshino Therapy.
What is that?
Which is kind of like a deep tissue massage. It's kind of like an acupressure.
Yeah.
Massage, and
that's painful as hell, I would imagine.
It's very painful, yeah. But it works really, really great. So I went up to White Plains in New York, where this guy who was a practitioner of it lived, and met with him maybe about once a week for like about a month, I would say. And he taught me how to work on it on my own. And after one treatment, I felt like I could like play again.
Oh wow!
So it was like a life-changing thing. And he taught me how to work on it on my own. So then I just started going, occasionally instead of once a week.
Sure.
And after a couple months, so I graduated college. I moved back to my parents in Jersey because I couldn't play gigs. So I couldn't make any money. So I was there for a few months, finally started getting myself better, and then moved back to Texas, lived there for like a year, and then moved to New York.
Okay.
That's kind of like how that story goes.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like what we were talking about before about how a path may seem like a negative thing, but then it turns out to be positive in the end. It's kind of how this went too, because I, from this guy, I kind of started to learn. This guy's name's Don Hayward, by the way.
The Hoshino guy.
Yeah, anybody who's got physical ailments due to playing or even typing, or definitely check it out. He's great. But he really started getting me into things like, activity through like little effort, very like kind of sort of like Eastern philosophy type stuff. Like he got me into the book. What's that book called? Zen and the Art of Archery.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was kind of like the first time I'd ever gotten into anything like that. Before then, I was kind of always like, all right, you got to like work really hard and break your back to do anything in this life,
Yeah.
And that was kind of the beginning
too well.
But that was kind of the beginning of me starting to change that path a little bit. Because I felt like I had to, because I couldn't continue going like I was, or I wasn't going to be able to play guitar at all.
Right.
And that was a long time ago. That was like 2004, but it's been a long, slow road. But up to this point now, I've gotten pretty into that whole frame of mind. And a few years ago, I got really into meditating. I learned transcendental meditation a few years back. Cool.
You meditate every day?
Yeah, twice a day.
Really? How long do you do that for?
20 minutes each time.
That's great, man.
It's really cool. I learned, I think in 2014, and then maybe about a year ago, I started getting really into it. At first I was doing it, but I was kind of just doing it and then living my life outside of that, however I would have before.
Right.
But now I'm getting even deeper into it, and it's been really cool. That's great, but all of that stuff goes back to having tendonitis. I don't know if I would have ever gone down that path had that not happened.
And you're right. That's another one of those, connect the dots afterwards things. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So between those two things, so it sounds like you're focusing more on, the present and stuff like that, and, being present more and doing things for that reason, as opposed to, yeah, I hear you, man. Good for you.
Mm-hmm. It's been helpful.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those things, if you're super driven, it's not going to happen right away. It's going to take years, I mean, yeah. I've changed in so many ways, and they certainly didn't happen overnight, although I wish they would have.
That's not something that really probably happens to most people when they're young either.
No.
It's something that you kind of start to understand later on, I think.
Yeah. Well, I know, like for me, I was just sick of having stress. I was like, you know what? I'm done. Me and stress are done. Me and drama are done. And that was it. But it took a long time to get there. But then I just said one day, you know what? Yep. It was as simple as stopping to bite my nails, which I did for like 45 years. And then one day I just stopped. Mm-hmm. It was really weird. I was just ready.
Right. Yeah.
You've been involved in so many different, really cool projects. Would it be possible to choose like maybe the top 2 or 3 experiences that you've had musically, either because of the work you personally did and what you accomplished, or, the richness of the whole experience, or maybe the people involved or the hang?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that, I've said this before too. I think probably the best musical experience I've ever had was making the Snarky Puppy Family Dinner 2 record. It was just such a cast of great idols of mine in the room, on that record. It was really inspiring. Like Charlie Hunter was there. Susanna Baca, Susanna Baca?
I do not, but I interviewed Charlie, and he's an amazing guy.
He's great. He's a great guy. Susanna Baca is like a Peruvian singer. She's like, I think she's actually the cultural ambassador of Peru.
Possibly. Oh wow,
I think that's true. Yeah, she's like I don't know exactly how old she is, but I think she's in her 70s. So, but she was great. This band Vesson, who was a big influence on Snarky Puppy, was part of this project. So the whole experience was great. Just David Crosby was part of the project. So just looking around the room and seeing these guys, and girls together was just like fantastic.
That's great, man. What was Crosby like to work with?
He's great. He's like, even at his age and after all the things he's accomplished, he's still like really inspired to make new music.
That's awesome, man.
Which is really great to see. And I don't know if a lot of his peers necessarily share that with him,
Well, so he's in his like mid 70s, maybe even close to 80, no?
I think he's 76, maybe.
Yeah. It's amazing that guy's alive.
I know.
To tell you the truth, man. If you think about all the stuff he's been involved with, good Lord, yeah.
He knows it too. He's the first to tell you.
Yeah.
You can't believe it. But he's great to work with. He's super, deep songwriter.
Yeah.
And very intuitive, it's pretty heavy.
Awesome. How many hits is, that guy talk about, you're right, songwriters, man. It doesn't come,
Yeah.
He's one of the top ones in the world.
Yeah. And he's been a part of a scene that was so huge and diverse. He's hung out with Miles Davis. He was at the Sgt. Pepper recording session.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's wild. But he just been the center of the counterculture and such a big change in music directly having an impact,
Yeah, for like 50 years.
Yeah.
Or more.
And so, all right, so Snarky Puppy Family Dinner 2, what would be the second?
I guess I would say just the experience of making my own record, because I've only done one under my own name. But that was a great learning experience too, and it was really fulfilling to write all that music and record it and then produce it, and there was a lot of firsts for me, I think, making that. So I would say that was the second one.
I would imagine that was a tremendous sense of accomplishment by the time you
it really was. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. When it's all done and you get the CD from the manufacturer in your hand, you're like, oh, wow.
That's great, cool, man. Very cool.
Yeah. It was a good experience. Hopefully I'll do another one sooner than later.
Good. Come back on here and talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
And what would be 3?
Oh, there's 3. Let me think. So number 3, I'd have to say I just did this tour recently with this great drummer, Jerry Granelli. Mm-hmm. He's from Nova Scotia, but he's from San Francisco originally. And he was like the original drummer on the Charlie Brown music with.
Really?
Yeah. And he does a lot of like pretty open and free improvised music.
Well, that was great jazz, that Charlie Brown stuff.
Yeah, it was great. He's a great drummer, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, Robben Ford was the other guitar player.
Oh my God, that's pretty cool.
Tour. So that was a great experience, being able to play with him every night. We played only about 7 shows or something, but it was like a really nice experience.
Cool.
And that's a kind of music that I'm really into, but don't actually often really get the opportunity to play. Like super improvised, open, sort of free music, like Ornette Coleman type kind of stuff, And so it was great.
Robben was in his element as well there.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
That's great. I had him on the show a few weeks ago. It was good. Really good.
Yeah, I know. I saw that actually. I listened to about half of it. It was cool.
It was good.
Yeah, he's great.
Wow, that is a pretty cool experience. But what I find amazing is that someone would move from San Francisco to Nova Scotia. Also, that's a little. Well, what's the story behind that?
Well, he's actually like, and this guy Jerry, I think he's about 78. And he actually was really into Buddhism and studied Buddhism for years and still does. And I think the reason he moved there was I think his teacher moved there.
Okay.
And he just decided that he wanted to follow him. So he lives up there now for that. And actually Charlie Hunter actually got me on that gig actually.
And let me tell you, Charlie is like the rainmaker. You know how many people have told me, honestly, probably 10 guys have told me Charlie Hunter hooked him up with like really self-satisfying gigs. I mean, honestly,
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
he's great. But yeah, so actually the record that Jerry had just made was featuring Robben and Bill Frisell on guitar. And Bill couldn't do the tour, so they asked Charlie, and Charlie couldn't do it, so he gave my number. So that's how I got it. So
very cool.
The whole experience was like, and Bill Frisell is one of my biggest heroes.
That's awesome.
So,
very cool.
It's great.
Hey, so growing up in South Jersey, I had a question. What was your childhood like? But it sounds like it was really pretty good, all about music.
Yeah, it was great. It was a, typical middle-class suburban American family.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy or, but yeah, there's a lot of music around. I had a lot of friends who played music in town as well as my dad. So, I had, little bands with friends in high school and stuff like that as well. And there's a lot of great teachers there, which was one of the things that helped the most. One of my first guitar teachers was this guy, Chris Bono, who, are you familiar with him at all?
I've heard his name from a bunch of jazz people I've interviewed in the city, but I have not met him and I don't know about him musically. So, feel free to rip.
Yeah, he'd be a great guy to have on here too, actually. He used to teach at Berkeley for a few years. He's written like some books and stuff, but he's primarily an educator, but he's a great player too. But when I met him, he's not that much older than me. I think I was probably like 16 and he was probably like 21 or something. And he just grew up in the same town as me.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's just, by chance. So when I heard him, I was like, oh my God, this guy's like the best guitar player I ever heard,
Yeah.
So, so that was great. And he was like, the first like real professional I had ever met as well. So that he kind of is what shaped me to even know what being a professional musician was like,
Okay, hold on a minute right there. So This is interesting. And this is a perfect example of what's difficult with raising kids. So your dad, who was a musician, didn't teach you that. Your teacher, that's what you just said is a perfect example of the challenge of being a dad. I'm serious. It's hilarious. As an outsider, like your dad didn't teach, and it's so true because like I remember specifically having conversations with a buddy of mine or just somebody, and my son was there. One of my sons, either one, and they would say something. Then later that night, my son would come back and say, "Man, Dad, what so and so said was like really." Like revolutionary. I'm like, man, it's the same thing I tell you every day. What the hell? I'm like, and I was like, so in the beginning, when you're a young dad, it's like you're frustrated. Then you realize like, okay, great. As long as you're getting the message, I don't really care who gives it to you. Right. But that cracked me up what you just said. He taught you about being a professional musician, not your dad who you lived with every single day who was a professional musician. Oh my God. Can you do me a favor? Write that down and tell that story to your dad, because as a dad, he will crack up.
Okay. Well, part of it is maybe me being like, you don't want to listen to your dad at a certain age.
Right.
Part of it may have been that. But the other side of it though was that my dad was always semi-pro and then, at a certain point it was really more like a hobby, so it was how deep they were into the professional side of it was definitely different.
Sure.
Yeah, it's kind of
it is funny though, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you sit back and think about it. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's just tell your dad. I just think he'll get a kick out of it. Did you?
But yeah,
go ahead.
Before that, I kind of like was kind of like, oh yeah, it's if you want to be a professional musician, that, you know, that means you're going to be like Jimmy Page or something, you know, but
right.
But after meeting him and hanging with him, I kind of realized, you know, or he taught me that there's a million jobs that you can do as a musician that are not that, you know. It's like, that's like probably 0.5% of the music community is people that reach that level, you know.
And, you know, I bet that helped you a lot, because I've spoken with dozens and dozens of guys who didn't have that benefit. And when they realized they weren't going to be Jimmy Page, it was really a letdown. Whereas you went into this thinking, hey, there's a lot of opportunities here, which is a totally different spin on the same industry.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. When I was about 17 or so, I kind of knew that was very unlikely. But I knew that I could still make a living and have a good career. Regardless, you know?
Yeah, that's really good wisdom, man. You said you had an older sister who's in dance. Do you have any other siblings, and are they in music?
They're both. I have two sisters that are both younger than me, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one's a dancer, and the other one's a veterinarian.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And my
yeah.
sister, who is the dancer, actually lived down the street from me in New York for like a few years, like about a mile away. But her and her husband just moved upstate. And then my other sister lives in Philly.
Very cool. I love upstate New York, man. If it wasn't ice cold, I'd be there right now.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a very cool place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it up there too.
What you've done so much. What are you looking to do more of? Like, you know, in the future, near and long term future. Like, what really pulls at your heartstrings that you engages you the most that you want to do more of?
I definitely want to do more of my own stuff. You know, like I said, I released my own record almost a year ago. I released it in September. And I did a couple tours doing that stuff, and it's a lot of fun, great learning experience. Obviously it's great to be able to, you know, do your own music where that you are in complete control of it artistically, creatively, you know? So I definitely want to do more of that. I want to write more and make another record and just continue going down that road for sure. Then
as a side note to that, I really give you a lot of credit because, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, but to be involved in as many things as you do, plus to take the time to then go and write, you know, I don't know how many songs are on your record.
There's 7 and there's 1 cover. Great.
So to come up with 7 final songs, you had to write 20 or 30. You know, and so I give you a lot of credit to put all that, to take the time to do that and to record it and then to get involved in the mastering and the mixing or whoever was doing it with you. It's just a lot of work. So I really give you a lot of credit on top of all the other shit you got going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's like, I just felt like I was hearing stuff that I felt like I had to try and make come to life, you know? That was kind of like the reason behind it, you know? I'm involved in some projects that I really love. But there was still something else that I wasn't able to do in those projects. So, you know, that was kind of the genesis of it, I guess.
That's awesome. You went and did it. Good for you, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Besides the tendonitis, which is definitely probably a major disruption, have there been any other obstacles that you've sort of had to deal with along the way, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess the biggest was probably just first moving to New York. I didn't really know that many people there when I first moved there. And it's just so expensive, you know? Yeah. So I was, I was just, paying rent and bouncing checks basically every month, you know?
What did you do to hustle up gigs? Cause you're doing sessions now, but I know you didn't move into the city and say, hey, I'm here, I'm ready for sessions.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I mean, I had some contacts from Jersey, which was helpful.
Great.
And I had a car at the time. I don't have a car anymore, but at the time I had a car. So I was driving out to Jersey like multiple times a week to just go teach.
Okay.
But that's so expensive.
Yeah.
You know, just to even drive out and drive back.
The bridge, I couldn't believe it. Isn't it like $10 each way to go over the bridge?
Yeah.
Dude, I couldn't believe that.
I think the Verrazano was like
12
or something.
Yes, I couldn't.
Insane. Insane. But when I moved there, it was like, I think it was 9 to go to the Verrazano. It went up a lot in 10 years. So, you know, that was definitely a challenge, you know, just trying to keep my head above water. But I was, you know, I was like struggling, but at the same time, I never really felt like I wasn't happy, which was good.
It wasn't a grind.
Yeah, no, I was practicing every day. I was happy to be doing that. I was around all this great music. It's just, you know, I was just somehow making it work. Looking back on it, I really don't know how I did. Because it was like, you know, I wasn't playing. I was doing some jam sessions with friends and going to some places that had jam sessions, but like gigs and stuff, I wasn't really doing anything, you know, for a while.
How'd you get
I guess, well, I guess I kind of always felt like something was going to work out. You know, I didn't really lose faith that it would work out, and things did improve very slowly, but they were always moving in the right direction. So I guess that made me feel okay about it taking a long time, that at least it was going in the right direction.
Yeah. Did you ever have like a cutoff, like where you said, hey, if this doesn't happen by then I've got to go get a full-time gig or something like that?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't.
No, just curious.
Yeah. I don't know if things didn't work out by this point. I might be like, all right, this is not working. But at that age, I didn't even think about it.
Right.
I guess I was like, when I first moved there, I was like 26, 25 or 26. And, you know, I think I was just so happy to be there, really. Mm-hmm. That drove me to keep doing it. And, you know, I was meeting people. I was at least jamming with people and having a good time. And then after a couple of years, when Snarky Puppy started getting busy, then, you know, it was kind of like I didn't even have time to think about anything else. I mean, we were so busy for quite a few years, you know.
You said something. I just wanted to tell people when Bob said he didn't have a car. You don't need a car in New York City. It's kind of like a bit of a hindrance in a way, because you have the parking. You can't, if you're not home, you got to switch sides of the streets every night because they clean the streets with us. You know, the garbage guys come and clean the streets. So you just want to explain when you're talking about, I got rid of my car. I just want to explain it. I don't want people thinking, oh man, times were tough. No, you don't. You don't.
You really don't need it there. I mean, when I moved there, I had come from Texas. I had a car already, and I kept it because I knew I was going to be going out to Jersey a lot to teach and stuff. And it was nice to have. It was nice to have it if I was going to go play somewhere. You know, not have to take an amp on the train and all that. It was helpful.
Sure.
But New York is the kind of place where you don't need a car. I mean, it's like you can get anywhere you really want to go on the train or a bus.
And it's expensive having a car, man. I was just...
Yeah, it's like a full-time job having a car.
Oh my God. We're coming up to the city like later on this year. And so I was, looking through different hotels. We're thinking about where we want to stay. And I'm just reading some things. And one of the hotels, and it was like it was a nice hotel, but it wasn't like, 5-star hotel. Parking was $60 an hour.
Yeah, that's about right.
$60 an hour. That's $1,200 to park your car overnight.
That's insane. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like, it's like, you got to like, I used to set an alarm to go move my car for street cleaning.
I remember.
Then I would set it. Then I would just double park, because in most places they let you double park.
Okay.
While street cleaning is going on. But then if you forget to put it back after street cleaning is over, it's even a bigger ticket.
Yeah.
So then I have to set an alarm to remind myself to go move the car back. And then it's like if you're going to be out somewhere, then you got to make sure you are not in that spot.
Yep.
When you leave, it's like, it's such a pain.
Yeah, it really is. Totally.
But my car actually, so when I would go on tour back then, I would actually bring my car to my parents' house in South Jersey.
Okay. Smart.
So I wouldn't have to worry about it. But, it was like an hour and a half drive.
Yeah, and then you'd have to fly out of somewhere in Jersey, then drive back, go back to their house, and then drive back to the city when you get back. Yeah.
I have to take New Jersey Transit train all the way back down there and get the car.
That's a lot of work, man.
But one time when it was there, actually, the Hurricane Sandy came.
Sandy. Wow.
And so then, the car got flooded and was useless. So then I was like, all right, I guess I'm not going to have a car anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's the end of that.
Hey, if you had to go back and give yourself advice, give a younger Bob Lanzetti advice, what advice would you have wanted? What advice would you have benefited from, assuming that you were willing to hear it?
I guess I would say I don't know. I guess I would say don't be afraid to not know something and ask questions. Because sometimes I kind of felt like I would get intimidated or afraid, to be open if I didn't know something, especially, something musical. Sure. And I'm sure I missed out on opportunities to learn because of that. I would say that, and, having the confidence to know that that's okay,
Mm-hmm. I totally get it.
And that's going to help, by being open in that way and allowing yourself to be vulnerable in that way, it's only going to benefit you.
Totally. Well, thanks for sharing that, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about gear for a few minutes. What is your primary go-to guitar right now, and what other two guitars would round out your top three?
Well, recently, Fodera built me a guitar, and it's great. You know the company Fodera?
I've heard of them only through a couple of guys I've interviewed who have played their guitars. I've not played any of them.
Mm-hmm. They've been a bass company for years, but recently they started making guitars, and they're great. So they built it to my specs with the wood I chose and the pickups and everything, and even the color. So I'm really digging it. And
what were your specs? Like, is it a Strat? It's a Strat frame?
It's pretty Strat like. I mean, they have like a body that they use, so I couldn't get a different shape or anything. So right. But that's fine. It doesn't look like a Strat, but it basically plays like one. But I chose the wood, which was alder, because I have like a Tokai Strat.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Like an 82 Tokai Strat. That was my main guitar forever. So they kind of built it with those specs for the most part. So it's a maple fretboard and alder body, Fralin pickups, blue special pickups. So I've been using it for, I guess, about a year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Is
it hard for you to just use one guitar?
It depends. Like, usually live, I'm happy to just use that or the Tokai I use that still for certain things as well. But in the studio, definitely, like, I like to have a lot of different options. And then the other guitar I have that I like a lot is a 68 Guild Starfire.
Oh, wow.
Which is a great guitar. And I got it on eBay for like $800.
Holy shit. How'd you do
it? It was like, I think I got lucky. It was like 2004 maybe. I just got, nobody else bidded on it for whatever reason.
It's just right place, right time.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a great guitar. I don't use it that often because it's not too often that I need to sound like that. But, whenever I get the chance to, it's great.
So I'm looking at this now. It's like a 335-ish.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And what kind of pickups are in there? They look like mini humbuckers, or like, what are those?
I actually don't even know, to be honest.
Are they? I wonder if they're Guild pick. Let me see if I'm just looking at here at classic 60s hollow body, and this is a 68. Well, the newer ones here, anyway, it's a little hum canceling little Bucker pickups.
Mm-hmm.
And the output sits somewhere between a single coil and a vintage style PAF.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's cool.
It's cool. It's a great guitar. I have thought about changing the pickups. But like I said, I haven't even used it in a while at this point. At some point I might get back into it and mess with it some. But it's a great guitar.
Yeah, I like the piece at the bottom. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the newer ones. I don't know if yours has it. It's got the what is that called? That big hunk of metal holding everything down.
I'm not sure what it is exactly.
Do you know? It's where the strings basically are coming from.
Yeah,
I sound like a Luddite.
What?
I sound like a Luddite. You'd never know I actually play guitar. I don't know what that piece is called at the bottom that holds everything together.
Is it the tail bridge?
Yeah, the tail bridge.
Yeah, I like it because you can play behind the nut, or behind the bridge itself, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, that is cool. That's right. You can.
Yeah, you can't do that on, like a lot of guitars.
You can't do that on. Look, yeah, I have a 335. You could do that on it only because it has a Bigsby. Yeah, that's wild. I've never tried that. What does it sound like when you do that?
It sounds pretty chimey.
I have to check that out.
And
man.
You get some interesting tones out of it. I guess it's just kind of the way the harmonics or something. I'm not sure why.
And
but it's pretty cool.
What would be your number 3? That's a great deal, by the way. 68 for $800.
I know, right? Yeah. Well, I think that I meant the Tokai would have been my second.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So those are the 3 I use the most. Yeah, for sure.
Anybody?
I love Granelli.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't play it. You're not a humbucker guy. Well, I mean, besides your Guild, you're not a Gibson guy.
Yeah, I mean, I have probably the fewest amount of guitars of anybody that I know.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of a drag. I want to get more. I don't know why I don't.
Man, when you want to buy more, you'll buy more.
Yeah, I use a lot of different ones in the studio. Because there'll just be stuff around, or I'll borrow something or something like that. But yeah.
Is anybody who that influences your playing that people would be surprised to hear?
I mean, besides the stuff I had mentioned earlier, that things like David Lynch, things that aren't even music, or things that aren't guitar based, like some 20th century classical music, stuff like that. What else? I mean, I was like super into Bjork for a long time.
Interesting.
I got super into like old country a few years ago, like
Western swing.
Yeah, some of that, and things like Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn.
Yeah, that's like surprising.
Owen Bradley, the producer, produced a lot of that stuff. Who I think is pretty much credited for bringing country to Nashville, really, and also for making pedal steel like a prominent instrument in country music. So pretty huge. I got super into him just as a producer. Yeah. What else? I don't know if anything else sticks out as being odd. Maybe.
Anybody that you've jammed with that you really liked, and is there maybe somebody else you haven't jammed with that you'd want to?
Yeah. I mean, Bobby McFerrin sat in with Snarky Puppy once.
That's cool.
That was amazing. Yeah, he was great. So I'd really love to play with him some more. We actually had this crazy opportunity on this cruise ship that Joe Walsh was actually on, and we played Life in the Fast Lane with Joe Walsh.
Oh my God! Did you hear his interview recently with Mark Maron?
No, I haven't, but I've been meaning to.
Yeah, it was. It was okay. I was. I've got to get Joe on here because he's one of my guitar heroes, and
he's great.
Yeah, really. Yeah, his music has meant a lot to me. I love him. But what a cool thing! Did you get to hang with him at all, or was it just
a little bit? Yeah. We did hang a little bit. We were on this cruise for like a week.
Oh, wow.
So he was there the whole time, and yeah, it was amazing. He's such a badass.
Yeah.
So that was great. I'd love to play with Robben some more for sure, and I'm hoping that we can do some more, stuff with this guy Jerry. With Jerry, that'd be awesome.
Well, dude, you moved to Nashville. You play more with Robben. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, he just moved there.
Yes.
I'm sure he told you that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. Desert Island Discs, in no particular order, and knowing that you can change tomorrow. What's the first 3 albums that knee-jerk reaction that come to mind? This is going to be interesting. Well, your taste is so wide.
I've always been a huge fan of Monk's Dream, the Thelonious Monk record.
Yep.
So maybe that would be one. Another record that I've always really loved is this Bill Frisell live record. Mm-hmm. You familiar with that one? I'm not
really a big jazzer, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's a record. It's just one gig in Barcelona, and I'm so glad they recorded it because it's fantastic, and it was a huge influence on me for years. So let me think of something else that's not jazz.
Well, no, you could pick a jazz record if it's your favorite.
I know, but just get some diversity in there.
It's funny because I enjoy listening to guitar jazz, but I just have a hard time with the genre overall. I don't know that I'm intellectually smart enough to understand it, and I can't explain it. My musical palette really gears towards simpler stuff that happens to be the stuff that makes me feel stuff. And I'm more a guy that listens to music to feel as opposed to learn. Not that I don't learn, but there's only so many hours in the day, I think, is what it comes down to also.
Yeah, that's true. I'll say 3. I'll say B.B. King, Live at Cook County Jail.
Oh, that's a great record. I like that better than Live at the Regal, funny.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Yeah, a lot of people love Live at the Regal. And I find I find Cook County Jail is a much better record.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite blues record. One of my records.
Hey, what's the most important thing you've learned about yourself throughout this journey?
Yeah, I guess I would say that, maybe I would say the most important thing is that I know kind of what drives me. And I know that I have to make sure that I'm keeping that in line, or it's basically, I feel like I have to be in a situation that I'm really enjoying musically.
Yeah.
If what's driving me is a financial reason, I know that's not gonna be enough, I don't think, to really make me happy.
Yeah. That's another thing that's really consistent amongst top players, is that they're open to playing anything and they're open to doing anything, but if it doesn't feel right, they're not staying there.
Yeah.
Nobody sticks around. Yeah.
I'd say that's true, and I feel like I don't know what else to say about that.
No, it's totally cool.
Yeah.
What's a perfect day for you, man?
Well, okay. Perfect day, I guess, would be I feel really good when I feel like I have the time to devote to the things I really care about, which I guess kind of goes hand in hand with the last thing I said a little bit, sort of, but maybe in like a more broad scope. If I can spend some time writing, spend some time practicing, spend some time meditating, spend some time with friends or family or my girlfriend, spend some time petting a dog.
Petting a what?
Or a cat.
Oh, do you have a dog?
Petting a dog or a cat.
Do you have a dog?
No, I don't have a dog. I have a cat, actually. I don't have a dog, though.
Oh, it's hard to have pets as a musician.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it is, totally. I would love to have a dog. The only reason I don't is because I travel too much.
Yeah. Yeah, cats you can sort of, they're easier. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little bit easier to like.
Well, you don't have to walk a cat, you know.
Yeah, right. You know, so spending time doing the things that I feel actually are meaningful, you know. If I could spend the day doing that, then I'm feeling like I'm on the right path.
Let me ask you this, just out of curiosity. You mentioned the first thing was when I have the time to do these things. What's the biggest challenge for you as far as like, what's something that occupies more of your time that is not necessarily, I don't want to use the word productive because we all have to do a bunch of shit in whatever our business is that's not money making or quote sweet spot productive. But what's the biggest time suck for you that you can't stand?
I guess it would be, besides the just living in New York, which, like I said before, just takes up tons of time just getting from one place to another. It would be getting too deep into things work related that, you know, don't bring that don't kind of that they're just kind of like standstill things that don't really bring anything. There's nothing that comes from it that is positive, except for maybe some money, you know.
Can you give an example if you can, if you're comfortable?
Can I give an example without throwing anybody under the bus?
Yeah, the names will remain anonymous.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just like you always are going to end up doing gigs that, you know, that you end up taking, and then you kind of are wondering, why did I just take that gig?
Okay, I get you. Like for a buddy to hook a buddy up or to help somebody, and it's like it's really
well, even like, I mean, you know, helping someone out, even if I don't like it, is actually not so bad, because at least then you're doing something for somebody. But it's like, you know, sometimes you'll get asked to do random things that, and you say yes, and you're like, I don't know even why I said yes to that. I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
you know.
I hear you.
And that's just something. I guess that's something that I've learned in the last few years that I have to be better at is not being afraid to say no.
Yeah.
You know, because you know, I feel like, you know, I was, you know, when I was younger, and I think maybe we're taught to be this way when we're young, especially. It's like you take everything that's offered.
Oh yeah. Say yes to everything. Absolutely.
Yeah, even if it doesn't pay, you just say yes because you need the experience, and you know, you need to pay your dues and stuff. But, and I guess that's, you know, that probably is a good advice for a while. But at a certain point, you got to be like, okay, this is not worth it to me. I'd rather have a night off than, even though I am free, I'd rather have a night off than play this gig. Yeah. You know, so, and that's something that I'm kind of trying to get better at myself.
I totally get that. Yeah.
So
good for you.
Because then it just takes time away from doing things that you really want to be doing musically or outside of music, you know, just in life.
Or just nothing. I don't know about you. I don't get to do nothing very often, and I'd love to just like sit out back and smoke a cigar with a cup of coffee or something. You know, I haven't done that in ages. You know, it's like, wow. Yeah. I'll tell you, I'm really spoiled living in Florida, because when you mentioned New York, you were talking about the hassle of getting around. I'm thinking in my head, gosh, I remember, you know, you got to put all that winter clothes on. I'm really spoiled. You know, I got to put on a sweater, a shirt, a jacket, boots, gloves, hat. And I'm like, God, look at all that time. And you haven't left the house yet.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Do you live in Miami?
No, I live in Tampa. No, that's another crazy place, Miami. For me, anyway. I like it. You know, Tampa's a little slower. It's more of a town, you know. And I did live in Fort Lauderdale for a long time though, but it's a little.
That's close to Miami, right?
It's just north. It's the next town
Right.
north. Yeah, it's Miami, then Fort Lauderdale. It's Key West, sort of, then Isla Mirada, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and then West Palm Beach, and then Jupiter. But I live in Tampa. It's like Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater is Tampa Bay area. So no, it's a little more chilled out here. It's I know my kids are here, so I'm not going anywhere. So
right.
This is another tough question. Who's had the biggest influence on your life, both musically and personally?
I guess I would say I had a teacher, this woman, Connie Carruthers, who was actually like kind of like a free jazz piano player. And she actually passed away, unfortunately.
Oh, sorry.
But she was about 74, I think, when she passed. Only about maybe like a year and a half ago.
Sorry about that.
But she was like fantastic. She was like a huge influence on me. I mean, I would say in my younger years, it was my dad and then Chris Bono.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Chris.
Yeah, those two were the biggest influence on me for quite a while. And then in the last maybe, I don't know, 8 years or something, I would say Connie. She was like.
But were you playing piano with her, or? No,
it was. She did like just music lessons, so she had students of all different instruments. It was she taught saxophone, trumpet, vocals, piano players, guitar players, drums, anything, didn't matter. And her whole thing was very kind of meditative in a way. Like we would do things like breathing exercises and then like playing one note on the instrument, but staying connected to the breath, and then maybe playing a scale and then maybe playing like a melody to a song or something. So it was very much.
God, that sounds so relaxing, man.
It was
just
really,
listening to this.
It was really great.
Yeah. That sounds like a vital skill.
It was great. So it was really about like getting your intellectual, analytical minds out of the way, to really contact your intuition and play from that place. And it was life-changing. I'm completely different musician now, I think, than I was before meeting her. And I studied with her for like 4 or 5 years. I studied with her for a while. And it was kind of, her lessons with her were kind of like, I used to always say it was kind of like one part music appreciation, one part music lessons, and one part like therapy.
That's great. What a good combo. What was her last name? Connie
Carruthers.
Carruthers.
Crothers.
Did she publish any books?
I don't think she did, actually, but she taught mostly privately out of her home. She lived in Brooklyn.
Right.
But she used to study with Lenny Tristano.
Oh yeah, the jazz guy.
Yeah, she studied with him, and she had played with, like,
was he a sax player?
He was a piano player as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, she was like the real deal. She played with like Lee Konitz.
Oh wow.
She was kind of very, very heavily into that scene of guys. So.
Very cool.
And she's got tons of students in New York now that, are all just kind of great players.
It's too bad she didn't publish any books.
Yeah, I mean, her teaching was so unorthodox that I don't know how she would have, because it was like so individualized. It was never like, what she did with me was completely different than what she might have done with someone else.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she had I'm looking her up right here, man.
Yeah, she's got a lot of stuff on YouTube and stuff you can check out.
Yeah.
There's some videos of her explaining her teaching methods on there, which would be interesting to listen to.
Yeah, I'm going to leave this page up. I definitely want to check her out because I'm into that kind of stuff. Anything that can quiet my mind, I'm like really receptive to.
Yeah, it was like kind of another move in that direction. Like I had said earlier about the Hoshino Therapy guy, that was kind of the beginning of it. And then, meeting with Connie was the next kind of big step in that. And then the meditation thing was, I guess, the thing after that,
That's good, man. That's really good. I think it's great. Anything you could do to like be more peaceful and less stress and be more content, I think I'm so up for that, man. I think that's the shit they should be teaching in school. My younger son just decided he wanted to go back to college. And I said, what do you take? And he goes, American history, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I cannot fucking believe that's what they're making. I mean, seriously? Like, seriously? Are they still I mean, that's what they should be making you, teaching, like how to communicate, how to quiet your mind, how to figure out your life. I mean, American history, really? I mean, I'm serious. I mean, unless you want to be a history professor and teach that to somebody else, when will you use that? How will that serve your life? I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I didn't want to like tell them not to go to college. And I'm thinking, man, go to trade school. Don't do this,
Right.
I'm serious.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to get more into that. And it's not something, it's still pretty much on the fringe of like at least Western culture,
I know, it's crazy. Sorry, I'm going on a rant.
No, I agree with you, but I think it's headed more in that direction. I hope so. Hopefully, it'll catch on a little bit more. But
I hope so, man. If people were more chilled out, fucking getting along wouldn't be such an insurmountable like chore.
Definitely. It's much easier to be accepting. It's much easier to be creative. It's much easier to be happy. Yeah.
If you're content with yourself, you don't give a shit, what who somebody votes for or, what they feel about something. Just let everybody be, man. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Most important thing your dad taught you?
Oh God. So many things. I don't even know how to answer that. That's such a hard thing to answer, because like it's so a part of who you are that it's hard to even delineate it.
That's nice, man. That's a real nice thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
pick one thing.
Okay. I guess I would say to trust that, speaking in musical terms, to trust that I can do this if I, put in the effort and the work and don't give up and just have faith that it'll work out.
That's good. Have faith. Yeah. I like that. How about your mom? What's the most important thing she taught you?
I guess, my mom is very social, and I think being able to be around that and experience that was helpful to me because I'm not. And my dad's really not either. So I think being around her energy kind of helped me just by example, just learning how to open up a little bit, or at least having an example of what that's like to be very friendly and very open in that way.
Very cool, man.
Because if she was like me or my dad, then I would have probably never experienced that until much older.
That's cool. Very cool. Are your folks still in Jersey?
Yeah, same house.
That's great, man. That's great. So you get to see him.
Yeah,
that's good. Very cool.
Yeah,
man.
I don't get down there as much as I'd like, but
that's all right. You're the son that the son never does, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my sisters talk to them like every day.
Yeah, right.
I talk to them a couple times a month.
Yeah, that's the way it is. I go out of my way now. I actually set a reminder to make sure I call my sons at least once a week. Literally a calendar reminder, and I don't. Yeah. I do it before I tick it off, because I want to make sure we connect. And I wind up calling them like twice a week. But if I didn't hear,
that's good.
Yeah, because I want to. It's really. It's kind of sad. I read this article like a year ago, and it talked about a guy in his 30s, and he was thinking about he lived out of state, and he was thinking about how many times he would actually see his parents again before they died. Mm-hmm. And it was like less than 100 or something like that. Wow. And I read that.
That's crazy.
Well, because if you think about it, if you're out of state or out, far away, you see them 3 times a year, depending how old they are, if they're in their 50s or 60s, that's only 60 times. And when you think about it, it's pretty traumatic. Those are the people you spent every waking minute with for 18 years.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy.
And when I read that, I said, man, my kids aren't going to understand this because they're too young, but I do. And so I really want to make it a point to call them and be as involved with them. And then my older son called me yesterday. He's 28, and I was so happy. I mean, and we had just spoke the day before. Yesterday was Tuesday. We had just spoke Monday because I called him, and he called me yesterday just to talk. And I was like, and I was so happy. And I'm going to make sure I tell him today. I was so happy that he called because I was in the gym this morning. Think about it. Really made me feel good. I was really happy. So I always let him know I don't want to be that guy that my dad didn't communicate or anything. I'm pretty open. So
yeah, that's great.
Do you have any non-musical superpowers?
Non-musical superpowers. Oh boy.
Yeah. You got to have one. You're a super bright dude, man. You got to have something going on there.
I love, this is kind of stupid, but I love making tomato sauce.
No, that's what somebody told me I'm really good at washing dishes. So tomato sauce, you're like light years beyond that already. Yeah.
I'm good at washing dishes too, actually.
Hey, your last name is Lanzetti. If you can't make tomato sauce, nobody would have any respect for you.
Right.
That's good. It's funny, when my wife and I first got together on Friday nights, once in a while, that's what we would do is we'd have, we had no money. We'd have a bottle of cheap wine and make tomato sauce. And we still do that once in a blue moon. It's a cool thing to do with, your spouse or partner or whatever.
Yeah. I haven't made it in a while. I got to do it again.
There you go, man. It's Friday night, you and your girl. There you go.
Yeah.
Biggest business or personal win?
Business or personal win? I guess I would say, just this whole experience with Snarky Puppy has been a huge win in general. I would say, I mean, it's pretty much given me a career in a lot of ways.
Sure.
I mean, the shows I've been able to play and the people I've been able to meet and the way things have gone since being in that band has been fantastic. So yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
Great. Yeah. And you're like I said earlier, the great team, just a great group of musicians and just really nice people, nice, kind human beings.
Yeah. Everybody's great and amazing musician too. Yeah.
Favorite New York City food?
There's a restaurant in Fort Greene called Olea that is awesome.
What kind of food do they serve?
It's kind of like Mediterranean. I guess it's kind of like a Mediterranean fusion kind of thing. It's great, and it's actually reasonably priced too. It's me and my girlfriend go there as often as possible.
Very cool. Did you ever go to? If you like Mediterranean food, there used to be this restaurant on St. Mark's. And it was really inexpensive. They had great Mediterranean food. Again, they had a big courtyard. This is a proper place to sit outside, man. And they had great drinks. And that's closed down too. I don't know if you know the place.
I don't think so.
It was great, man. That's kind of like a fun food to eat for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this place is great. But there's so much good food in New York.
For sure. I don't know anything about Brooklyn, man. It's like, when you grew up in the Bronx, it's like the other side of the D train. And back then it was just the same set of misery in the Bronx, except it was on the other side of the D train. There was no reason to go. Right. It wasn't nice like it was now. So I don't know much about Brooklyn. We walked the Brooklyn Bridge for the first time. Last time we were in the city. It was great.
Oh yeah. It's cool. Yeah. It is. The Bronx is basically like another city. It's so far away.
Oh yeah, it is.
Have you been to DeFara's though? Have you heard of DeFara's?
Pizza place, the Italian place.
Yeah. In Brooklyn. It's a pizza place.
Yeah. No, I have not. It's good.
It's great. Yeah. I think he wins best pizza most years.
Yeah. I see that because I read a lot of New York blogs and stuff. A pizza place I like is it's Joe's Pizza. It's on Carmine Street. It's just right off 6th Avenue and Bleecker. It's and you can go right across the street and it's called Father Demo Square and just sit there and have a slice. Mm-hmm. I love that place.
That place is nice too.
Yeah, really good pizza. My favorite was Pizza Box, but Joe's is pretty good. People like John's, but I'm not really. That's just a little further down Bleecker Street. That's like the coal-fired
Oh, okay. I don't think I've been to that one.
It's all right. You can only get a pie, first of all. I'd like to get slice and munch on it and then walk around or whatever,
Yeah, right.
So it's funny when when we go to the city, we're like, all we do is we eat pizza and bagels and like a salad, and everybody's like, oh, it's so expensive. I'm like, oh, not for us.
Yeah, right.
The only thing we spend money on is alcohol, it's like,
right, yeah.
Not on the food.
It's expensive to drink there.
Oh, super. It's crazy expensive, man. It's ridiculous.
There's also a bagel shop I love that people are super polarized about. Some people hate it.
Which
it's a place called Bagel Hole.
Is that in Brooklyn or is it downtown in the city?
Yeah, it's Brooklyn. It's in Park Slope. It's a little, it's like a little old. Well, some people just like don't think it's good, but I just think they're completely wrong. I think it's like the best bagels in New York I've had. Because to me, it's kind of like the real old style Jewish bagel.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, but a lot of people like hipster bagels. I think they're like thick and there's too much bread, but then some people really agree with me and they love Bagel Hole. So,
Yeah, bagels are like cigars, man. There's really like, you got to get your thing, and there's like a few places that'll have it and a few places that won't. You got to find your spots and then cherish them. It's so funny that you can, like, people don't realize you can go to a little bagel joint, and get a muffin for breakfast and go get a bagel and cream cheese with something on it for like lunch or something. And it's like, doesn't cost a thing. And it's just the best food you'll ever eat.
Yeah, it's great.
Hey, do you have any hobbies or interests outside of music?
I don't know. I mean, I'm like I said, I mentioned dogs and cats earlier. I love animals in general. So
yeah, animals are cool.
And my girlfriend's like, super, even more than me, into it. So, we like, anytime we get a chance to like hang out with a dog or something, we basically take it. So
that's cool.
So, my sister has a dog, and so when she was in the city, we'd go there and watch the dog sometimes.
That's great.
Stuff like that. We actually we were on a road trip and we went to this big cat sanctuary in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, they have one down here. I've never been there. What is that like?
It's amazing because there was all these like rescued cats from like circuses or zoos and stuff like that. But the best thing about it was that like they had if there's babies, they let you play with the babies. So we got to play with this baby tiger that was like 15 pounds, and it was an awesome experience.
Dude, there is nothing as like quieting your mind as joyful as a little puppy or a little kitten, man. I think so.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's great.
It's just like so. I mean, if you can't get happy around a little kitten, man, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, totally.
Honestly, they're just so awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, one more question, man, and I really appreciate your time and being so candid and open. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of this has been deliberate and how much is just a part of aging? And I think you talked about some of it probably.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty easy. I think I would just say being more open to the ideas of, of feeling like work doesn't have to be like hard and break your back and it can be joyful and you could love it, and trying to like instill that in myself more and more. I feel like I still have a ways to go with it, but I think it's a very positive thing and definitely worth trying to go down that route, and like I said, that probably really all stemmed from getting tendonitis. So that was like definitely a blessing in disguise that I never would have expected. Yeah.
I've traveled down that same road, so I know how you feel. That I was always of the same mindset, and so I understand how you feel as far as that goes. It's almost revolutionary when you change your mind to thinking that like, what the hell was I doing?
And it's pretty subtle. It's not a massive difference in thinking, but it's very difficult to make that switch. Mm-hmm. And I think it takes a long time,
I think for me, it was tough I don't know if this impacts you, but I always measured myself, my worth almost by my productivity. And I measured my productivity by how intense something was.
Yeah, definitely.
And I realized, wait a minute, these are my measurements. That's not like the absolute measurements. I need to have a different measuring system here.
Yeah. It's totally true. And I still do it, but like, I feel like I'm getting better at it. And I'm definitely committed to getting better at it, but it's a long road of reprogramming.
Yeah, totally, man. I'm totally down with that, man. I know how you feel. Yeah. Well, man, I can't thank you enough. I want to give a shout out to Bagel Hole.
Yeah, please do. People need to know.
People need to know about Bagel Hole in Brooklyn.
It's on 7th Avenue in Parksville, like 7th and 12th Street or something. And
if they're closed, go to DeFaria's. Get a slice.
Yeah.
Dude, let me tell people where they can find you. And I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate you've been super gracious and super kind. And thank you for everything.
Yeah, my pleasure.
First of all, check out Bob Lanzetti online. It's at boblanzetti.com. It's Bob, LANZETTI.com. He will be touring the Midwest in November with his were you quintet?
Quartet.
With your quartet. Check out his record, his album, and I just want him to explain the title. It's so cool. The name of the record is Whose Feet Are These That Are Walking? And I want to say that again because it's hard to get your head around that. Whose feet are these that are walking? And tell everybody how you came up with the title, because I thought it was pretty cool.
So there's the book by Hazrat Inayat Khan, who was like the Sufi master and musician. And he was explaining in this, I think it was a Buddhist school, where the students would all say that kind of in unison, and it was basically to remind themselves to basically be present to the present moment. So, and I just thought it was a cool saying. I thought it fit an album title well.
Awesome. So that makes a lot of sense. Whose feet are these that are walking? If you're thinking about that, you can't be anywhere else but right there where your feet are, man.
Yeah, so, exactly.
I like that. And you can check that out. You can grab a copy on Bob's website, or it's also on Spotify if you want to stream it. But I like you guys to support all the cool people I have on this show, so go buy his record. Snarky Puppy, if you haven't or not familiar with them, please go check them out. They're getting ready to do a new record, and you'll be touring after that, I'm assuming.
In 2019, not any more touring with Snarky this year.
Right. Once the record comes out, though. You guys going to come down here? Nobody ever comes to Florida. It's like the forgotten zone.
I know. Well, we have a festival in Florida, in Miami. Every February.
Which festival is that?
It's called we've only done 2 years so far, so this February will be the third. It's called Ground Up Music Festival.
Cool.
It's our record label, and we have tons of artists, some on the label, some not on the label. But yeah, the first year we had David Crosby. Last year we had Chris Thiele. It's just a lot of great artists. It's been really fun.
Very cool. So check them out at Snarky Puppy. You can go to snarkypuppy.com, or it'll be on Bob's website. Bokanté, talk about that band and the new record you're getting ready to do.
So we recorded our second record. It's a fairly new band. We recorded our second record with the Metropole Orkest in Holland. That's going to be out in September. We're going to do a tour in Europe in a couple weeks, and then we're doing some stuff in the States as well. And we're doing some shows with the Metropole actually in Europe, so that'll be really fun.
That is cool.
It's a really fun band. It's interesting instrumentation. It's 3 percussionists, 3 guitars, but sometimes we play like baritone guitars and regular guitar and something called a hammer tone guitar.
What is that?
Which is it sort of sounds like mandolinish type thing, but it's basically like a 12 string with a capo on the 12th fret. You could think of it that way.
Okay. Full size guitar?
No, it's a small body and small neck. But it's a cool sound. It's basically a high pitched sound, like a high pitched 12 string, basically.
Very good.
And there's a singer in that band as well, and a pedal steel player, Roosevelt Collier, who's actually from Florida as well.
Oh yeah, I know him. I was trying to get a hold of him. He's a tough guy to reach.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's a really good player. Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So it's a fun band, and be on the lookout for that too. We just released a video actually just about a week ago.
So look them up. It's Bokanté, Bocante. And
Bok.
Oh, Bok. So, I'm so sorry, man.
No, it's all good.
Bokante, Bokanté. Mm-hmm. And also you can check out Bob on Facebook at his Facebook thing is his Facebook thing. His Facebook page ID is Whose Guitar Is This? WHOSE. Whose Guitar Is This? And also, I didn't realize that, but man, if you're a guitar player and you want to take some lessons from one of the sharpest guitar players that I've had on this show, go to Bob's website. He also does lessons. I didn't realize that. So you can go to the contact form on his website. Again, it's Bob Lanzetti, Lanzetti. And if it's a fit, you guys can hook up on Skype and learn from the wizard, man. Dude.
That'd be great.
Can't thank you enough, man. I really appreciate everything. You're welcome. You're very welcome. Come on anytime you want, man.
Will do. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. Thanks so much to Bob Lanzetti for spending time with us. I truly appreciate it. Support him and support his music at boblanzetti.com. And make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up for our newsletter list right now. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.